Too short for the NFL, too old for a comeback, too damaged by Denver's disaster. Russell Wilson has heard it all. After leading the Steelers to a 10-7 record and earning a Pro Bowl nod in 2024, he's proven that the story isn't over yet. Now, the New York Giants are betting on his revival, hoping he can bring the same spark to their franchise. What's the secret to bouncing back when everyone counts you out? To understand how Wilson keeps rewriting his narrative, we need to look back at where his journey began and the doubts that shaped his earliest days. This is the rise, fall, and rise again of Russell Wilson. When Russell Wilson entered the NFL draft in 2012, the conversation rarely centered on his arm strength, his ability to evade defenders, or his sharp decision-making. Instead, it was all about his height, 5'11". In a league where quarterbacks are expected to tower over their linemen, Wilson's stature became a sticking point. Chris Weinke, a former NFL quarterback, went as far as to say that if Wilson were just a few inches taller, he might have been the top pick in the draft. That perception stuck, overshadowing his achievements and fueling doubts about whether a quarterback his size could thrive at the highest level. Despite the skepticism, Wilson's college career offered plenty of evidence that he could break the mold. After transferring to Wisconsin for his final season, he faced the challenge of learning a new playbook and stepping into a leadership role with little time to adjust. The results were immediate and impressive. Wilson set an FBS single-season record for passer rating at 191.8, led the Badgers to a Big Ten title, and took them to the Rose Bowl. He didn't just fit in, he excelled, orchestrating an offense that put up points in bunches. His ability to make precise throws and manage games with poise made his height seem irrelevant on the field. Still, NFL teams remained hesitant.
Fifth pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Russell Wilson.
Draft day confirmed the lingering doubts. Wilson fell to the third round, selected 75th overall by the Seattle Seahawks. The pick drew scrutiny, especially since Seattle had just signed free agent quarterback Matt Flynn, who was expected to be the starter. Most assumed Wilson would be a backup. Instead, he approached training camp with relentless focus, outworking and outplaying his competition. By the start of the season, he had earned the starting job. Wilson wasted no time making an impact. As a rookie, he tied Peyton Manning's record with 26 touchdown passes. His calm under pressure and his knack for extending plays with his legs quickly made him a standout. He became known for his mobility and improvisational ability. Wilson's dual threat style forced defenses to adjust, never quite knowing whether he'd beat them from the pocket or on the move. His rookie campaign ended with him being named NFL Rookie of the Year, silencing many early critics. The momentum only grew from there. In just his second season, Wilson led the Seahawks to Super Bowl 48, where they dominated the Denver Broncos 43-8. He became one of the youngest starting quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl, and at 5'11", the shortest quarterback to do so. The victory was a defining moment, transforming the narrative around him and proving that the so-called limitations were nothing more than background noise. Wilson's early years in Seattle were marked by consistency and leadership. He was selected to the Pro Bowl in each of his first 4 seasons, then again from 2017 to 2021 for a total of 9 times. His ability to keep the Seahawks in playoff contention, regardless of roster changes, underscored his value. Teammates and coaches often pointed to his relentless preparation and steady optimism as reasons for the team's resilience. In Super Bowl 49, Wilson and the Seahawks returned to the big stage. Despite leading 24-14 into the fourth quarter, the game ended in heartbreak. Wilson's late interception at the goal line sealed the loss to the New England Patriots, a moment that showed even the best can face crushing setbacks. Still, he became the first quarterback to start 2 Super Bowls in his first 3 seasons, a testament to his rapid rise. By 2019, Wilson signed a 4-year, $140 million extension with Seattle, making him the highest paid player in the NFL at the time. The contract reflected not just his impressive stats, but his status as the franchise's cornerstone. His leadership and playmaking had redefined what was possible for quarterbacks who didn't fit the traditional mold. All of this early success set a high bar, but it also brought new pressures and expectations. As Wilson's career continued, the demands grew and the margin for error shrank. The league had underestimated him before, but the next phase of his journey would test him in ways no one could have predicted. A star quarterback's trajectory can shift in unexpected ways, and for Russell Wilson, the cracks began to show after years of consistency. By 2020, the foundation of his career, marked by sharp passing and steady leadership, showed signs of fatigue. The change wasn't dramatic at first, but subtle shifts in the Seattle Seahawks locker room became hard to ignore. Reports of a growing disconnect surfaced, surfaced. Teammates later said he had checked out mid-season, framing a growing disconnect between Wilson and the team. Disagreements over coaching changes and a sense that Wilson's influence was waning led to speculation about his future in Seattle. By the end, it was no longer clear if he was still the team's driving force or simply its most polarizing figure. Despite the tension, Wilson's reputation remained strong enough to attract significant interest from other franchises. When the Seahawks and Wilson parted ways in 2022, the Denver Broncos made a high-stakes move to acquire him. The trade package was massive. Denver sent 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, quarterback Drew Lock, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, and tight end Noah Fant to Seattle for Wilson, and a 4th-rounder. The Broncos believed they were securing a franchise quarterback who could restore their relevance, and they quickly signed him to a 5-year, $245 million contract extension. The expectations were clear. Wilson was supposed to be the answer. The reality in Denver was very different. From the outset, the offense struggled to find any rhythm, and the optimism that accompanied Wilson's arrival faded quickly. By the end of the 2022 season, Denver's offense ranked last in the league in scoring, averaging just 16.9 points per game. Wilson's own numbers reflected the team's broader issues. He completed 60.5% of his passes for 3,524 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. He was sacked a league-high 55 times in 2022, a statistic that underscored the mismatch between Wilson's skill set and the Broncos' offensive scheme. The dual-threat playmaker who once gave defenses fits now looked out of sync and unable to adapt to his new environment. The problems extended beyond the field. Communication issues within the Broncos' locker room surfaced, with some players struggling to connect with Wilson's leadership approach. His style, described by some as distant and overly polished, didn't resonate the way it had in Seattle. The coaching staff faced its own challenges. Nathaniel Hackett, a first-year head coach, failed to implement a system that played to Wilson's strengths. As losses mounted and frustration grew, attention turned to Hackett's future with the team. His dismissal after just 1 season highlighted the depth of the dysfunction. Wilson's contract only added to the pressure. The Broncos had invested heavily, both in draft capital and salary, expecting Wilson to become the cornerstone of their rebuild. Instead, the deal quickly became a source of regret. Analysts and fans alike began to question whether the commitment was one of the worst in recent NFL history, especially as the team's performance failed to improve. A few moments during Wilson's Denver stint encapsulated the disappointment. One came during a highly anticipated Thursday night football game against the Indianapolis Colts in 2022. The contest, billed as a showcase for Wilson, instead became a case study in frustration. With the game on the line in overtime, Wilson forced a throw into the end zone that was intercepted, sealing a dispiriting loss. The reaction from the home crowd, loud boos and visible frustration, mirrored the growing doubts about his ability to lead the team. By 2023, any lingering optimism had faded. Wilson's performance declined further, and his mobility, once a hallmark of his game, was diminished. The Broncos, facing ongoing struggles and mounting financial concerns, made the decision to bench Wilson for the final 2 games of the season. They cited a need to maintain financial flexibility, but the move was widely seen as the end of Wilson's tenure in Denver. The aftermath was swift. On March 4th, 2024, the Broncos announced Wilson's release, effective at the start of the new league year. In just 2 seasons, the experiment was over. For a player who had once been a model of consistency and success, the sudden fall was stark. Analysts labeled his time in Denver as one of the most disappointing runs for a high-profile quarterback in recent memory. Yet, even as critics questioned whether Wilson's best days were behind him, the story wasn't finished. The next chapter would soon challenge assumptions about what a determined veteran could accomplish after a dramatic setback. When Russell Wilson signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2024 season, the move was met with a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Wilson, once considered a lock for the Hall of Fame, was coming off a disappointing stint in Denver that left his reputation battered. The 1-year deal he secured with Pittsburgh was short on guarantees, making it clear that this was not just a fresh start, it was a test. For the Steelers, it was a calculated gamble on a veteran quarterback with something to prove. For Wilson, it was a chance to show he could still compete at a high level. The doubts weren't unfounded. Wilson's struggles in Denver had raised legitimate questions about his ability to adapt, lead, and win. His trademark mobility and deep ball accuracy seemed diminished, and at age 35, the odds of a major rebound looked slim. Even among Steelers fans, fans. Excitement was tempered by the reality of Wilson's recent performances. The consensus was clear. This was not a team bringing in a superstar at his peak, but rather taking a chance on a player hoping to reclaim past form. Understanding the stakes, Wilson approached the offseason with a renewed focus on preparation. He adjusted his training regimen, putting extra emphasis on lower body strength and agility to regain some of the athleticism that once set him apart. Just as important, he committed to learning the Steelers system, working closely with head coach Mike Tomlin and the offensive staff to fit into a scheme built on efficiency and ball control. This approach marked a shift from his days in Seattle, where improvisation and big plays were expected. In Pittsburgh, Wilson aimed to blend his experience with the needs of the team, prioritizing precision over risk. The results began to show as the season unfolded. Wilson's numbers reflected a quarterback who had found a balance between his old strengths and his new environment. He finished the year with 2,482 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. On the ground, he contributed 2 rushing touchdowns, showing flashes of his ability to make plays outside the pocket. His completion percentage hovered above 66%, and his efficiency helped keep the Steelers competitive in a tough division. The most telling sign of his resurgence came at season's end, when he earned his 10th Pro Bowl selection, a recognition that carried added meaning given the doubts that had surrounded him just a year earlier. A highlight of Wilson's 2024 campaign came in Week 13 against the Cincinnati Bengals. In a high-scoring overtime win, Wilson threw for 414 yards and 3 touchdowns, finishing with a passer rating of 126.4. The performance was a reminder of what he could still do when given the right opportunity and support. Tight window throws, timely scrambles, and decisive reads all returned in that game, prompting a sense of optimism among fans and analysts. It wasn't just a single standout performance either. Wilson consistently made smart decisions, limiting turnovers and keeping the Steelers in playoff contention. Wilson's impact extended beyond the stat sheet. After criticism about his leadership in Denver, he made a deliberate effort to connect with his new teammates. He spent extra time working with young receivers, reviewing film, and running drills to build chemistry. Veterans on the offensive line credited him with bringing calm and focus to the huddle during tense moments. The locker room, which had been a point of tension in his previous stop, became a place where Wilson's presence was seen as a positive force. His approach was marked by humility and a willingness to listen, qualities that helped him win over both players and coaches. Reporters took notice of the change. After a hard-fought win over the Cleveland Browns, Wilson reflected on his journey, saying, "You learn a lot about yourself when things don't go your way. I wanted to come in here, prove who I still am as a player, but also listen, grow, and give everything I had to this team." The sentiment captured the essence of his comeback. Less about reclaiming old glory, more about adapting and finding a new way to contribute. Wilson's season with the Steelers didn't just restore his reputation, it opened up new possibilities. He had shown that with determination and the right mindset, a veteran quarterback could still make a difference. The question now is whether this resurgence was a final act or the start of another chapter. The New York Giants' decision to sign Russell Wilson for the 2025 season signals a shift in their approach at quarterback. At 36, Wilson joins the Giants on a 1-year deal, a move that offers both sides flexibility and a clear evaluation period. Will he live up to the expectations of this 1-year, $7 million deal? That's the question facing the Giants' front office, their fan base, and Wilson himself as the season approaches. Wilson's arrival in New York has sparked immediate debate. After a season in Pittsburgh that saw him regain some of his old form, optimism exists among those who believe his efficiency and leadership can translate to the Giants. However, others point out the differences between his situation in Pittsburgh and the challenge he now faces. The Steelers offered a strong defense, a reliable offensive line, and a coaching staff that played to Wilson's strengths. The Giants present a different landscape. New York's offense has struggled with consistency, and the market's intensity means every misstep will draw attention. The pressure to deliver is constant, and the scrutiny is unlike anywhere else in the league. This fan base is desperate for good quarterback play, and Wilson has an option to fill that void. Wilson's history at MetLife Stadium adds another layer to this story. He's played 4 games at the venue, 2013 and 2017 against the Giants, 2016 against the Jets, and Super Bowl 48 against the Broncos. In those appearances, Wilson won every game and posted a 117.1 passer rating, the best among quarterbacks with at least 4 starts at MetLife, including postseason games. His Super Bowl victory there remains a career highlight. Now, he returns to the same building, not as a visitor or a champion, but as the home quarterback for a team seeking stability. This connection to MetLife is more than a footnote. It's a reminder of what Wilson has accomplished and what's at stake as he tries to replicate that success success in a different uniform. The fit between Wilson and the Giants' offensive system will be closely watched. Wilson's career has been defined by his ability to extend plays, create opportunities downfield, and use his mobility to keep defenses guessing. New York's current scheme, by contrast, emphasizes quick reads, high percentage throws, and methodical drives. For Wilson, adapting to this approach will require adjustments. His time in Denver showed the risks of a poor schematic fit, while his stint in Pittsburgh proved he can adapt when the support is there. The Giants' coaching staff will need to find a balance, leveraging Wilson's strengths without asking him to be someone he's not. Early training camp and preseason performances will offer the first clues about how this transition is unfolding. For Wilson, the stakes are clear. A strong showing in New York would not only reinforce his 2024 comeback, but also help reshape the narrative around his career. With 46,135 passing yards, 334 touchdowns, 5,307 rushing yards, and 29 rushing touchdowns already on his resume, he's accomplished more than most quarterbacks ever will. But in the NFL, recent performance often outweighs past achievements. If Wilson succeeds, he could secure another opportunity as a starter and cement his legacy as a quarterback who overcame adversity more than once. If he struggles, the questions about age, decline, and fit will only grow louder, and this could be his last chance to start in the league. The Giants fan base reflects this uncertainty. Some welcome the move, hoping Wilson's experience will bring stability to a position that has lacked it for years. Others remain skeptical, seeing the signing as a short-term fix rather than a long-term solution. Analysts echo these mixed opinions, with some highlighting Wilson's leadership and others focusing on the physical challenges that come with his age and mileage. As the preseason unfolds, every practice rep and preseason snap will be dissected. Reports from camp so far suggest Wilson has approached the opportunity with determination, showing flashes of his trademark deep ball accuracy and command in the huddle. There are encouraging moments, but also lingering questions about his chemistry with new teammates and his grasp of the playbook within a new, struggling system. The Giants staff and fans are watching closely, knowing that the margin for error is slim. Wilson's journey to New York is the latest chapter in a career defined by unexpected turns and resilience. Whether this gamble pays off or not, the decision to bring him in reflects the constant search for answers at quarterback in the NFL. The outcome will not only shape Wilson's future, but also serve as another example of how quickly fortunes can shift in professional sports. Wilson's journey highlights how quickly fortunes can change for even the most accomplished athletes. From a third-round pick to a Super Bowl champion, his early rise set a high bar. His fall in Denver tested him, but the resurgence in Pittsburgh proved his resilience. What stands out is not just the milestones, but the way Wilson adapted, learning from setbacks and finding new ways to contribute. He remains one of only 4 quarterbacks with a career passer rating over 99, a testament to his sustained excellence. As Wilson joins the Giants, his story continues to show that perseverance and adaptability matter more than the opinions of analysts or any single misstep.